Every year around Labor Day, the town of Mount Pleasant, Iowa becomes a booming tourist destination over a 5-day event known as the Midwest Old Threshers Reunion, where people who own vintage tractors, cars, and various other pieces of equipment are displayed and operational, giving demonstrations for the public. Along with all this sits the star of the show, the Midwest Central Railroad. They run a small fleet of narrow-gauge equipment throughout the entirety of the event, and it is also a great way to get around the park grounds. For several years before the idea of the railway was even a thought, there was just the steam shows. This was at a time the love and interest of anything steam was fading to the more powerful time and cost-effective diesel technology that was replacing the old steam tractors, factory machines, and, of course, the steam locomotives.
And it was just like any other show in the country. They had a bunch of steam engines and they thrashed and they did this and they did that. But every new show that was springing up around the country was exactly the same thing as what we did. It seemed to me like the proper way to go to get our show better than all the rest of them was to have something they didn't have. And nobody ever thought of a railroad.
A railroad is exactly what these folks need. Their first acquisition was a little narrow-gauge 040 tank engine that sat in the parking lot, essentially as a yard ornament. This was not the way the team had wanted to go until an auction in Georgia from a lumber company was brought to their attention, which had 2 vintage steam engines on the auction block. They purchased the steam engines using about $13,000 in donations.
When I said we had 13,000, we had 9,000 at the time of the sale. We had bid on sealed bid. We had one bid was $5,001 for the number 6 engine. And we put a bid in for, I think, $1,600 on the 2. Anyway, the number 6 got rebuilt out at the farm this one first summer. That had been 60. And then we got her in here and got enough track laid from the east main gate over to the new engine house that was also built that summer, that we had the engine in 1/4 of a circle, or less than 1/4 of a circle actually. And that was our first year operation, just a locomotive and tender.
The Surrey, Sussex, and Southampton Railway No. 6, named Maria, is a 260 mogul-type steam locomotive that ran in Virginia, hauling logs and timbers. It was built by Baldwin in 1891 and worked for the Surrey, Sussex, and Southampton until the 1920s, when it was sold to the Argent Lumber Company, from whom the Midwest Central purchased it and the 2. The 6 has been the flagship engine as of late and is quite popular among rail fans. Starting at the North Depot, which was a real depot acquired from the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad in 1958, we'll watch 6 depart with one of many trains during the day's activities and follow her along as she makes her loop around the grounds. Along with 6 was Georgetown Loop 12, a prairie-type locomotive on loan from, the Georgetown Loop. They and the Midwest Central Railroad formed a lease, having the Midwest Central Railroad send their Shay, West Side Lumber Company 9 to Colorado, and the 12 to Mount Pleasant. This was done because the Shay could handle the loop's grades better than the 12 could. The 12, also known as the Pineapple Princess, formerly ran on the Kahului Railroad Company in Hawaii, and is another Baldwin-built locomotive from 1928. It ran there until 1967 when the line was abandoned and eventually found its way in Colorado on the Georgetown Loop. We were actually starting at the South Depot for the 12, which also serves as a storage building for their cars. After several hours spent at the campgrounds, me and Ryan headed over to the Amtrak depot for some mainline action. The California Zephyr was pulling into the Mount Pleasant station. We returned to the Midwest Central one final time for some night shots. The 12 was just pulling in to the North Station when we got there. That, the railroad winds down, the tractors are cooled off, and the campers head to bed. An amazing day and event, if I do say so myself. As everything goes quiet, I think we're going to head on out of here ourselves. If you'd like to learn more about the Midwest Central Railroad or Old Threshers, visit their websites. I'll have links to them down in the description box. As always, thanks y'all.